Everything happens for a reason. This is what I've been taught ever since I can remember, and it's a practice that I've lived by every day. I've also learned that good comes from all bad situations. But when something bad happens to you, it's hard to imagine what good will come out of it. Sometimes it takes years. In 1977, when I was 6 years old, my father was killed in a drunk driving accident. He was 37, an alcoholic, and he was the drunk driver. He left my mom, myself, and 2 sisters to fend for ourselves and to pick up the pieces. This story is not meant for you to feel sorry for those involved. In fact, it was meant as a reminder that triumph can come out of tragedy. Growing up without a father was difficult. For my mom, it meant she was on her own. She worked as a single mom, day in and day out. For my sisters and I, it meant not doing all those things you would normally do with your dad. For all of us, it meant not living with an alcoholic. Even as a young child, I can still remember the peace I felt not having to hide when he came home drunk. We did without, that is for sure, but we were together and we were happy. Time passed and the memory of my father faded, but the reality of what he did and what he left behind still remained. In the back of my mind, I always questioned why he chose alcohol over his family. What did we do wrong? Weren't we good enough? Didn't he love us? I wrestled with those questions each and every time I thought about my father. Even as a teenager, I questioned his choices. I was envious of my friends who had fathers that loved and cared for them, who did things with them, who didn't make horrible choices like my father did. Even though my mother remarried and I had a father figure in my life, it didn't take away the feelings that I had. I needed emotional healing from the scars of my early childhood, and found it when I kneeled next to my bed to pray. The Lord's Prayer became the medicine I needed to move on from my self-blame. When I became an adult, the good of the situation finally came to pass. My desire to become a teacher, to work with and help troubled kids, became a passion. The empathy I felt for kids in similar situations who live with the hardships of life became something I needed to connect with. I found myself in the classroom teaching 15-year-old kids why it's important to make good choices, to think about the consequences of your decisions and how those decisions affect other people. I tell them about my father and how I had to live without him in my life. I hope my story will have an impact on their lives as much as it has impacted mine. As a parent, I'm extremely blessed to have 2 lovely daughters of my own. I look at them and know that they are more important to me than anything else in this world. Triumphing over tragedy is a choice. You can dwell on the difficulties, or you can move on and learn from them. Would I change anything about my life? Never. I'm the person I am today because of my past and the struggles that I had to overcome.